Hi, everyone, and welcome to Faculty Spotlight. I am here today with Crim from Baptist Student Ministries. My name is Cynthia Murillo. So nice to have you finally get on the show.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
I feel like we've been playing like tag, trying to get you on the show. So
Yeah,
I am
we have.
so excited to finally have you here.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Yes, sir. So, in case you never heard about the show, this show is just a little bit letting the students know who you are, what you do here on campus. Of course, we'll talk about everything that you do here at ASU, but first, we kind of just want to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, perfect.
So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Crim. I was born and raised in Comanche, Texas, a small town about 2 hours east of here.
Okay.
And when I was a high school senior, I came and toured Angelo State. And for a bit, I was not committed to Angelo State. There was another school that I liked better, but really just through, I would say, God's intervention in my life. I was to the point where I was, I'd already applied for housing at another university, but just kind of last minute, like towards the end of my senior year, I just felt like Angelo State was the place that I needed to come. So I did. So I came here in the fall of 2011 as a student, lived in Robert Massey, did the whole college experience.
Yeah.
I was involved in the Baptist Student Ministry from pretty much the first week of my freshman year.
Wow.
Really loved it. Loved my time at ASU as well. When I graduated from ASU in December of 2014, I stayed as an intern at the Baptist Student Ministry.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for 2 years.
Awesome.
And really, throughout college, coming into college, I was I was involved in church when I was in high school.
Okay.
Was involved in the BSM, but I had no idea working ministry as a career was anywhere in my future.
So God didn't tell you as a child, like, you are going to be working ministry.
No, I wasn't raised in church, so it was just kind of like
it kind of unrolled.
yeah,
huh?
it was like it wasn't even an option because I didn't know it existed.
Didn't even think about it.
And then
How
finally, about my sophomore year of college, I knew ministry was what I wanted to do, what God was calling me to do.
That is so awesome.
Just still didn't know what kind. And
Yeah.
then when I was an intern at the BSM in 2015 and 16, that's when I felt my heart really turned towards college ministry. I knew that's what I wanted to do long term. When I was done with my internship, I went to seminary at Logsdon Seminary. I was in Abilene, Texas, and worked in a church doing youth ministry for a bit.
Okay.
Loved the church, but
Didn't
youth
love the youth ministry?
I knew college was where I wanted to be.
How
and
funny. I do youth ministries. That's
Oh,
funny.
okay, good. Yeah, well,
They're crazy.
I have a lot of respect for you and everyone else that does youth
The
ministry.
high schools are okay. It's the junior highs that get me every time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they've got both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. The high schoolers are kind of too cool for school sometimes. The junior high kids, they don't have enough of a filter.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So I did youth ministry for a bit while I went to grad school, did seminary, but knew that one day, or really hoped and prayed that one day the college campus was where I was going to go.
Yeah.
So in 2019, had the opportunity to get back into the Baptist Student Ministry, but I went to Sul Ross State University,
Okay.
way out in West Texas, for 3 years. And then finally in June of 2022, just really had the opportunity of a lifetime to come back here.
Awesome.
We have BSMs on over 130, 140 campuses in the state.
Oh, wow.
So the fact that ASU opened up when it did was just an incredible opportunity for me. Because I would always say if there was any BSM I could choose, I would definitely love to come back to ASU.
That is so awesome.
So I got to do that 2.5 years ago, and here we are today.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you said when you first started coming to ASU, you got involved with BSM within that first week. How did
Yeah.
that happen?
So I encountered them. I talked to a bunch of campus ministries when I came for orientation.
Yes, we have
so
a bunch of campus
We do,
ministries.
yeah. So we're very fortunate to have a multitude of ministries that are on campus as well as churches that are trying to reach the campus. But my first specific memory with the BSM was during Rambunctious Weekend. Back then it was just a weekend, just a couple of days. And then that year the pavilion and everything was under construction. So the student organization fair was just in front of the CHP before the nursing building was there. And I remember coming across them there and went to a kickoff event where we did like some kind of scavenger hunt in the first week. And, I went to several different churches, several different campus ministries, but the BSM always just felt like the place for me
For you.
when I was a student. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So what did you major in while you were here at ASU?
I was a psychology major.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I
guess that still comes in helpful.
It does. It's more helpful than some things.
Yeah.
I remember, so when I came to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was talking to one of my friends one day. She was a junior or senior, is when I was a freshman. I had to declare because I had to do advising.
Yes.
And I asked her about psychology, and I was like, is it very hard? She's like, no, not really. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it wasn't, it was fun. It was interesting, but really didn't see myself having a career specifically in psychology.
Yeah.
But it was a good major.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
sure.
it. It was interesting classes.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is I noticed that y'all have so many events going on here on campus. I don't really know if everyone even knows about the events.
Sure.
I've personally seen signs out for like worship nights. I've seen signs out like come eat lunch with us. So could you kind of tell us a little bit about what your ministry does here on campus, some of the events y'all have going on, either like reoccurring weekly or if you have anything going on for like the Christmas season or anything like that?
Yeah. So when people ask about our weekly schedule, I usually tell them 3 main events that we do.
Okay.
On every other Tuesday. So we've done our last one this semester, but starting next semester, every other Tuesday we have a worship night. And those are the signs that you see out in front of the chapel. We always do that in the chapel. So we have a time together where we sing worship music, and then typically I give a message, or we have maybe some past student missionaries that have gone all over the world give testimony to what they've done.
Is this live music?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We have a worship band in our ministry, so they play. And I give a message, and then afterwards we always have some kind of hangout event. So we go back to our building and play games. We might go to Whataburger and eat. So that's every other Tuesday. Every Wednesday we have a free lunch in our building. A different church brings it every week.
Oh, wow. So you're actually partnering with other ministries to do that.
Yes.
So
So
that's awesome.
a fun fact about BSM is we're actually sponsored by a multitude of Baptist churches in the area.
Okay.
So everything we do, all the money that we receive comes from those churches.
Awesome.
So we literally couldn't do what we do without the churches, because they view us as a kind of a missionary arm of their church to reach college students.
That's awesome.
And another part that where they're most directly involved is a different church brings free lunch every week. And what we love about that is there's always a variety. We know it gets the meal plan. It's great. There's good options, but it gets old.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we have these churches come in and they bring really good homemade food. Sometimes they'll bring Chick-fil-A, but it's always
the Lord's
good.
chicken.
Yes,
You got to bring the
absolutely.
Lord's chicken.
Yeah.
And you always have those, everybody in ministry I feel like has a gift, and you have those that like love to cook. So it's different when, like me personally, I don't love to cook. So I'm just like, ugh, I have to cook tonight. But when you have people like that's their gift and they pour their heart and soul into
Yes.
it, you got me there.
Absolutely.
Like that's it. I'm sold. I want to be there.
Absolutely.
How many students do you feel like maybe attend these events? Or
So we've seen a big increase, especially in our free lunch this year.
Yeah.
We had several free lunches where we had about 120 students come.
Wow.
And we're very consistently over 100 students.
That's
That come and eat
awesome.
lunch with us. And a lot of times some students, that's the only event of ours that they come to.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's no pressure to,
Yeah.
also come to a worship night or something else.
Yeah.
We're just glad
Come
we
and
can serve them.
Break
and-
bread with us.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's every
Wednesday,
at what time?
12 to 2.
12
Yes.
to 2.
We don't have it during finals week, so we're done
Okay.
this semester.
So we're
but
done.
next semester, every Wednesday, 12 to 2.
Starting it out strong. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. Do y'all just for the 2 hours? Is it just hanging out and eating? Do you bring a word? Do y'all do worship then, or how does that work?
We just do some announcements. We just let people know
Okay.
what's going on in our ministry, some other events that we're doing. And then we have the church comes up and they tell a little bit about their church and they pray, but all that lasts maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Cool.
And the rest of the time we just like to hang out.
And eat.
We do like a big group game
Okay.
a little later on, like bingo or like finish the lyrics or something. So we like to kind of we used to have a program during that time, but it was just we kind of rethought what is the purpose of our free lunch, and we wanted it to be to make connections,
Yeah.
maybe with people that's the only time we see them every week.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when I'm up there speaking on a stage, it kind of makes it hard for our students to be out there doing that.
Yeah.
So we decided about a year and a half ago, like we don't really need to do a program anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons we've grown is that students just see it as a time especially in the middle of a weekday,
Mm-hmm.
they're in classes all day. They don't want
Yeah.
to just be talked at again. They
For
just want to
sure.
hang out with each other. And so that's an opportunity to do.
I think
So,
that's such a good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
You know,
So coming to free lunch, I know maybe some students are listening and they avoid free lunch because they think it's a religious group.
Yeah.
What are they going to make me do? It's like we don't make you do
nothing. Come and
anything.
eat with us.
Yes. You just eat and hang out, have fun.
Eat some
There's no
Chick-fil-A,
pressure.
eat
Yes.
some good meals,
Yes.
hang out. No
Yeah.
pressure to come to anything else. No judgment. Like, let's just hang out.
Absolutely.
I'm so
That's what
glad
we
you
do.
said that. I'm not gonna lie. I've been seeing those signs, and I'm like, I want to go eat lunch
Yeah.
with them. My schedule's kind of crazy right now, but I definitely want to make one of those. I've
Okay,
been seeing
great.
that. I definitely want to make a worship night too.
Okay, yeah.
I'm super.
We'll be
excited.
January 22nd, the first week. We're back.
Oh, so you're coming in strong.
Or the 21st. The 21st, is that
21st
Tuesday.
is the first-
First
yeah.
day of class.
Yes.
So we'll be back that
Okay.
first Tuesday in the chapel.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm
Yes.
excited to see how that's
Absolutely.
going to go. I did see, okay, so I was maybe stalking some Facebook pages, and I did
Okay.
see some, y'all have some mission events that y'all are
Mhm.
doing.
Yes,
Do you want
yes.
to tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So a big part of what we do is missions.
Mm-hmm.
We really believe that the message of Jesus is a great message, and we want to go out and share that with people beyond our campus. We want to share it with our campus, but also we so believe that college students are at such a great time in life where they can go out and do that.
Oh,
Because when else in life are you going to have
This much time?
5 weeks off at Christmas or 3 months off in summer or a spring break? That doesn't
Yeah.
exist
And-
outside of school. So the next mission trip we're doing is Mission Arlington. And we go to Arlington, Texas, and we serve just kind of some underserved families that live there. So Mission Arlington is a year-round organization. Some of the stuff they do year-round is they do clothing donations, they do food donations, they help people out with stuff like that. They do apartment Bible studies, so maybe once a week after school, they'll go to an apartment complex, and all the kids that want to come and just do a Bible study with them and a craft or a game can come and do that. But the Christmas season, they kind of ramp it up a little bit to help families out at Christmas, which is when some families need a little extra help. So last year, we really got to do a lot for some of these families. One day, we got to deliver bikes. So families can contact Mission Arlington, and there's a pretty big wait list because bikes are a pretty sought-after item. But they showed us this warehouse, and it was full of the most bikes I've ever seen in one place, hundreds of bikes. So what we would do is they would give us a list of addresses, and we worked, I think, like 12 hours just loading them into our van. We would take a couple students, drop them off at their house for their parents to give to them for Christmas.
I love that.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Something else they do, kind of the big thing that Mission Arlington is known for, is their Christmas store. And it's called the store, but it's actually free. So it's just, once again, like a really big room with a lot of shelves full of toys that parents can come and get them for free.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. And so during that, we either help the parents because there's big gifts, there's little gifts, so we kind of help them figure out, okay, you can have one big gift for each kid, so here's where those are. So we kind of guide them through that process. And of course, while they're doing that, they don't want their kids with them, so there's childcare downstairs.
Oh my gosh, you'll take care of everything.
That's another opportunity that we have to serve, and that day is very chaotic, childcare day, but it's fun. It's fun in some ways. But last year when we went, we had consistently about 20 kids, and there were 8 of us looking after them, so it wasn't bad.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Then
8 for 20, you're good.
Next, about 2 or 3 o'clock, it settled down. We had like 5 kids. We're like, I guess it's going to be slow the rest of the day. But then the after work rush hit. And I think at one point there were 70 kids in there with us.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty chaotic, but it was a lot of fun.
I don't know how y'all did it. So it's my senior year. I'm pursuing a degree in social work, and I'm doing my practicum at the family shelter. So there's a lot of times where they're like, hey, Cynthia, can you watch the kids? And I'm like, yeah, a couple of kids is fine. But at one point we had like 20 children.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have kids of my own. I got this. They were running out everywhere. I hadn't put the baby gate up. I'm like, I have one in my arms, literally in the middle of changing one, and one's running out the door. I'm just like, I can't even imagine 70.
It was.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty crazy. But it was all for a great cause.
Yeah.
So we were happy to do it.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, parents, hurry, get your gifts and get your children.
Yes.
Let's go. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like the best part of your job? What's your favorite part of this job?
I would say really just, I guess, enabling students to do more than they thought they could or would do in their lives. So Mission Arlington, we talked about that. That's one of our mission trips, but we have a lot of trips that are a little more advanced. We even have students that spend an entire summer in a foreign country.
Oh, wow.
Just for the purpose of, working with a missionary or a church that's already there. This past summer, in fact, from our ministry, we had over 23 go out and serve, some in Texas, some in the U.S., and some were international. And some were for a couple weeks, but some were for the whole summer. And a question that I always ask, like our missionaries when they return or when we're interviewing them, to let other students know about these opportunities, I always ask them, who all of you came into college thinking you would ever do something like this? And very rarely do any of them say, like, yeah, that was me. I thought I would go and spend my entire summer in the United Kingdom, or I thought I didn't think I'd be going and working at a children's home in South Texas, or going and doing VBSs in Arizona. So I think that's one of my favorite parts of the job, is just introducing students to these opportunities, and really walking alongside them in that process. Because what happens is that obviously that's intimidating, right? Because there's a financial aspect.
Of course.
It's you raise the money to go to cover the cost of your expenses. And it's a whole summer away from your family, away from school, in a different country. So there's so many reasons why when we first hear about something like that, it's like, I could never do this. This isn't for me. These are for the people that are really committed. But by seeing their peers do it, there's like, oh, this person did it, and they're an ASU student just like I am, so maybe I could do it as well. So we help them through whatever process they need help through, whether it's, here's how you can manage being away for a summer, or here's some creative ways to raise the funds to go on these trips. So all of a sudden, we see those barriers coming down, and students are willing to be sent out to wherever God may take them. So I think that's definitely, among many things, one of the most rewarding parts of what I do.
And I think it's funny you say that, because one of y'all's mottos is seek, serve, send. So that's so cool. It gives them an opportunity to grow, being away from home.
Absolutely.
Having to raise those funds, not be able to depend on mom and dad, or, so that's really cool. And to see what they're made of, like, okay, now, like, go out there.
And
we're sending you now.
we, students always come back from those trips, and they're changed by them.
Yeah.
So whereas coming into college, they chose a major, they thought they were going to have a career. I've seen so many students now considering going and being a missionary, maybe for 2 years after they graduate, or considering giving their whole lives towards that cause, which is just a really humbling thing to be a part of. Because, I'm here doing my job, and they're going to go off and do far more like bold things and courageous things for the Lord than I do, like, admittedly. So I just think
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Because we need people back here to point students in that direction. So that, hey, this is an option. So I really love my place in that process.
Yeah.
And sending students out.
So we talked about the Arlington one. We talked about, like, international. I saw y'all had something, like, for South Padre coming up in spring break time.
We do, yes.
How does that look? Are y'all just out at the beach? Like,
yeah, so it's...
How does that work?
So Beach Reach, that's the name of the trip.
Beach
it
Reach.
Started in, I think, 1980. There was one BSM director, I don't remember where he was at the time, but he took a small group of students just to go out and make conversations on the beaches. And then one thing they noticed was they took a church van down there, and the people that were partying would, that sometimes you can't drive when you're doing that. They would say, like,
they're
oh, look.
designated driver.
Yeah, they didn't mean to be, but a lot of people are like, hey, there's the Christians in the church van. Let's see if they'll give us a ride.
How funny.
And then they would get their number, and they would pass along, hey, if you call these people, they'll give you a free ride.
I mean, whatever you got to do, right?
Yeah. So now that is over 40 plus years, that's evolved into, we call it's a hotline. So it's basically Uber on the island, but it's free.
Yeah.
And there's an app that the spring breakers can download to just ask for a van, And between every BSM, between 2 weeks of spring break, we usually have around 1,000 students that go to serve at Beach Reach. So at any given week of Beach Reach, anywhere 50, 60, 70 different vans that are out to give free rides.
Wow.
So we do that most of the night because it cuts down on drunk driving.
Of course.
And then, of course, another need that popped up was they found out that the Christians also brought food with them. So they would ask, like, hey, we don't have any food. Can we eat with you?
I love this ministry already. I mean, you feed them, you give them rides. I mean, it's great. It's great.
So
that
now
is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And that's turned into a pancake breakfast. 2 pancake breakfasts a day. One is in the morning, and then one is at midnight outside of one of the most popular bars.
Wow.
So we give them pancakes and try to get them onto a van so they don't try to, walk to their hotel themselves or try to drive back. So yeah, giving free van rides and giving out free pancakes, that's a big part of what we do. It's a lot of fun. It really helps meet a need. But in the midst of all that, we really try to just get to know people and get their story and then tell them, hey, this is why we're here. It's because we're serving God, and we want to meet this need for you. Yeah. And once again, there's no pressure for you to make any kind of decision. There's no judgment here. But we just want you to be safe. We want you to be fed, and we want you to know about this love that God has for you.
I love it. Yeah. I think so many times people are, I guess, kind of reluctant about like, oh, I don't know about them Christians, like they're going to try to convert me. Like, we just want to feed you. We want to love on you. Like, they're, and I think that that's so cool that y'all are literally doing that. Like, no strings attached. I love that y'all don't pressure anyone. Y'all don't, shove Jesus down anyone's throat. Like, we just want to serve you. We want to love you. And of course, like, we want to talk about Jesus, but at the same time, like, we're not trying to force anything on you.
And that's kind of our attitude when especially on the van rides, and really by the second or third day we're there, they know who we are. And sometimes they'll get on and say, like, we'll ask, like, do you know why we're here? Like, yeah, because you're Christians. I don't really want to talk about it. And we don't talk about it.
Like, okay.
But a lot of times they're very willing to talk. In fact, I would say that's probably the most willing people are to talk because, if they have a little alcohol in them, they're very willing to talk about anything.
That is so funny, but yes.
They'll be very willing to talk about what they believe and hear what we believe. And once again, not pressured to make any decision, not pressured to go to church with us or anything like that. So yeah, it's always a really, really fun time.
That's fun. That's kind of how I started going to church as a child because they would have a bus, through the neighborhood. I still remember the guy's name. His name was Brother Duncan. And he would drive the bus and he would give us candy. So I would love going to church on Sundays because, one, I didn't have to bother my parents. So I'm like, my parents didn't go. I'm just being honest. I jumped on the bus and I got a free full-size candy bar. So I feel like y'all are doing that, but with adults now. I'm like, this works.
It does, yeah.
That's what originally got me in was
free
the
rides
free
and free
rides.
sugar. Like, you can never say no.
Yes, that's why I love it. It is so funny. Okay, so I know before the show we were kind of talking a little bit, and you said you had your own podcast that you also do. So
I do, yes.
What is that, and what do you talk about?
So this is it's kind of a niche. So it's called Not a Christian Podcast. Okay. And the reason I named it that was because I do definitely talk about Christian related things.
Yeah, for sure.
I really like reading about theology and talking about it. But I also like to talk about, like, hey, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish? Or here's like a weird story I saw on the news that I want to talk about. Or here's some music that I like to listen to. So I don't exclusively talk about Christian things. I started it actually during the pandemic. And my idea behind it was that people like need friends, and even if I can be your friend like through the internet, like, let's do that. People weren't around other people, so I wanted it to be like a conversation like we would have. So when me and my friends get together, sometimes we'll talk about theology, sometimes we don't. We talk about anything and everything. So that's what I do.
That's awesome.
On my podcast.
That is so awesome. We have I guess we kind of have something like that here called Office Hours. We talk about anything and everything. So
it's fun.
I guess we kind of have something like that, what you got going on. That's so cool. So, you're on a radio show, so I'm going to have to ask you, what is your, you can either, let's go with, what's your favorite type of music? But I want to get a little bit more specific, so I also want to know, like, who's your favorite artist and what's your favorite song?
Okay.
Or at least, everything changes up, but
Yeah.
what have you been listening to?
Okay, my favorite artist hasn't changed in about 11 years, I think, now.
You are a loyal fan.
Yes, I am. So my favorite type of music, we'll start there, kind of indie acoustic music. My favorite artist, his name is Matt Carney. Ships in the Night was his big song in like 2011. So that's, if anybody listening knows him, that's probably what it's from.
Yeah.
But I started listening to him, I think when I was a freshman in college, and really like when I was a junior in college, he became my favorite artist. I spent, Spotify Wrapped came out yesterday, and I listened to him for, I think it was 15,000 minutes.
Oh my
alone.
goodness.
I've seen him twice this year already. I drove to Montana, or flew to Montana to see him in concert, and then went to Glacier National Park afterwards.
Wow.
So if I had to choose one song, I'd say a song from his most recent album. It's called Sumac. But if I had to choose like my favorite song overall of his, I would say probably Pontiac. Yeah.
Alrighty, sir. So this is my last question for you,
Okay.
because we're running out of time. But because we are in ministry, I gotta ask you, what is your favorite Bible verse?
My favorite Bible verse, I like 2 Peter 1:3. His divine power has granted to us all things pertaining to life and godliness, through the knowledge of him who has called us to his own excellence and glory. And the reason I like that is because basically a lot of times as human beings we feel inadequate to do what God calls us to do, or to do anything really. But his divine power, God's power, has granted to us everything that we need to pursue godliness. So everything that God is calling me to be, he equips me to be. And the illustration I like to give is that I know God wasn't calling me to be an NBA basketball player because I'm 5'4". So that was never going to happen. But God does call each and every one of us towards something, to do something.
Yes.
And he equips us to do it. It may be outside of our own power. It may be we have to step out of our comfort zone, or we have to commit to growing in order to become what God has called us to become.
Yes.
And that's really what the Christian life is. It's this process of sanctification, this process of continually, day after day, committing to grow into the Lord.
Yes.
So that's why I really love that verse. I think that's been my favorite verse for probably, I think I discovered it when I was an intern at the BSM back in like 2015 or 16.
It's been a while.
And yeah, it's been a while, and ever
good.
since then I've really loved that verse.
Awesome.
Is that God's not going to call you to something that he's not going to enable you to do, or that would be impossible for you to do.
Amen.
Yeah.
There we have it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Again, this was Faculty Spotlight. I'm Cynthia Murillo. Thank you so much, Kyle,
Absolutely.
for coming
Thank you for having me.
And we won't have a show next week because, of course, we're on break. So we'll see you next semester. Thank you, guys.